Hello and welcome to the Nerdy Wordy, a show where we will tell you to never pull on Superman's cape. We are your hosts. I am Robert.
I am Billy.
And today we have a lot to take care of today. So we got Justice League. I watched the Justice League movie today, Zack Snyder's cut. We're going to be talking a little bit about that, spoilers and non-spoilers. We're going to be talking some comic books and whatever Billy's going to do, he's going to figure something out, right?
We'll see.
But of course, we are going to start off with a brand new segment for this next episode, which is called The First Word, in which we will give our initial thoughts about the opening discussion points of the topic of the day, which is going to be episode 1 of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So I feel it is necessary for you, Billy, to give your initial thoughts about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier episode 1, because you are the bigger Captain America fan than I am, and I feel like you would have a better overall opinion about this episode.
Well, thank you. I will first start off by saying I was going to wear my Captain America shirt, but I've owned that one shirt for about 8 years, almost a decade, and it's too small now, and it would just be a very poor taste to put on YouTube. So,
Some people will like it.
and we'll see. Okay, so let's go through the list.
Oh my god, there's a list.
Okay, so basically my first thoughts for this are I knew the ending was coming based on the comic books, where some random guy, not a random guy, but someone would come in and take over the Captain America mantle that was not Falcon or Winter Soldier, who would just come out of the blue, who got hired, and then be a whole thing. I'm not going to say too much about that, but I was not looking forward to it actually happening. Like in the comics, the commercials and stuff, you saw it happening.
Yeah.
But we could tell it wasn't Falcon, and we could tell it wasn't Bucky, just because Bucky wouldn't do that. And I just don't like it. I do not like it because I thought Falcon was going to accept it, and then something else was going to happen that transitioned to someone else being a fake Captain America, and he'd be the real one. But since he said, no, I don't want it, and he pushed it away, then now someone else actually is the only one. Don't like that. Don't like it. Or in the words of Chris Evans, I don't like it. I don't like it.
Yeah.
And also, I liked the opening scene.
Okay.
And I really liked it because it was the same foe that Captain America Steve Rogers fought in Captain America Winter Soldier, Captain America 2, the very beginning. So I liked it because it was kind of poetic in a way. That first thing we saw was kind of the first mission that we saw Steve Rogers, Captain America, take on in modern day. I thought that was cool. And he also did a extremely good job and was very efficient at doing what he needed to do there.
Yeah, agreed.
And that's my first opinion.
So the first word that I'm going to say is that I thought that this was a very solid first episode, and I had not as much expectations about this episode because this was totally different than WandaVision. This is going to be more clear cut. This is going to be not theory driven. This is not going to be a mystery. This is going to be more of a straightforward, this is the story that's going to be taking place. I expected a little bit more action, which is not a bad thing. But this was a different type of story in which they were leading up to how Sam and Bucky were going to team up against whoever this enemy is going to be. So I like that they were kind of exploring the origins and the stories that were happening with Sam, with Bucky, them dealing with stuff during the events after Endgame. And this takes place 6 months after Endgame. So we get to see what they're trying to do, their personal demons, their battles, trying to help family, trying to make ends meet, trying to right wrongs, all these things. It was an interesting way to start off the series, and I really enjoyed it.
Yep, I agree.
So that is my first take.
Mhm. Very solid episode. I agree.
Yeah,
I was surprised though it took place so far after Endgame
yeah,
because this was supposed to come out before WandaVision, before the
hmm,
pandemic happened.
right.
So, do you think they changed that to make it take
I
place
think it maybe
after?
was just because it was like filming. Like there was something that was like happening during like filming that they needed to like push it off, so that way they wanted to do WandaVision first
Mhm.
because they knew filming could wrap up quicker with
Well, I
WandaVision.
mean,
That's my
the
guess.
the story plot line of it being 6 months after. Do you think it was supposed to take place right after Endgame, and then because it got pushed back, they pushed it back in the storyline too? Like,
I
do you
don't
think the
know.
original storyline was supposed to be a week after or 2 weeks after, or do you think it's supposed to be the way?
Maybe,
I don't know.
maybe. I don't know. But hey, it's said 6 months, so I think it works well, and we'll probably have an idea of why it works well being 6 months afterwards. So,
Mhm. I agree.
but let's get into the deep dive of this episode because this episode had a lot of stuff going on in it. You know, from the very first scene, as you said, you liked the action sequence
Hmm.
that was in the beginning.
Yes, I
I
did.
was hearing from like a lot of people that this was like one of the best action sequences that they've seen in a while in a Marvel film or a Marvel series.
Yeah.
And after seeing it, I was like, it's good, in my opinion. It's good, but it's like it wasn't like the highest, expectations that I thought was being presented to me,
Hmm.
because I was hearing it was going to be so great, and then it was like, okay, this is really good, but I'm not going to call it great.
Yeah. Well, that's also like they colored your view of it,
Mm,
and you went in with an expectation of seeing the best thing ever. So
yeah.
I think that could have, um, like, if that affected your view of it. But
Mm,
I thought it was really good.
yeah.
Um,
It was a very intense sequence,
mhm,
and I knew that like Sam would be able to save the Colonel anyway.
mhm.
But it
They're
was a
not gonna
very
have him
interesting
fail.
sequence. Yeah, it was a very interesting sequence in how they decided to do the flight dynamics of Falcon and having the helicopters in the canyon. It was a very interesting sequence in how to get from like the start of the story to the end of the story for that scene.
Mhm. I have one question for you though.
Okay.
Okay, so my one question is, why would you jump out of a helicopter in a paragliding outfit against Falcon?
Yeah.
You're not getting away. He has basically
Right.
what you have, and he can like control where he's going much better.
Mhm.
I don't get why you would do that.
Well, I mean, they don't have the Falcon packs. They don't have that technology. They don't have the ability to do that, and that's
Yeah,
the gliding suits are the only thing that you have to
but
be
why
able
would
to, fly.
I would just stay in the helicopter and fight in there. I feel like you have a better shot of fist fighting with
But then
him in
you
there.
got Falcon going against you, and like we've obviously seen the end results that the people in the helicopter die. So like,
Touche.
do you want to die or do you want to live and just jump out of the helicopter? Yeah, you'll be caught, but like maybe you'll have a chance because Batroc did escape at the
Survive.
end.
He did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is still the chance of you being able to survive. And yeah, it's kind of dumb for these people to just be like, I'm going to outrun Falcon. And you're not going to. But like,
Okay. I'm okay now.
that's a good question, though.
Mhm. Okay.
So next into the story, we see that Sam has decided to give the Captain America shield away to the Smithsonian as part of their exhibit on Captain America that they've had since Winter Soldier.
Yes.
Um, how do you feel about this? Because you've already said initially that like you thought that he wasn't going to do this, that he was going to keep it, and somehow,
Yeah.
some way, he was going to lose it, and that's how the whole story progressed. But he
Mhm.
decided willingly to give it up.
Yeah. I will. So before I answer the question, I will take a step back from it, only because
Mhm.
when he's dressing up in the suit and everything, he has the shield
Mhm,
there. It's very somber, kind of. He's like
mhm,
moving very slowly. He looks respectfully at the shield. I thought he
mhm.
was going to Captain America's funeral, like the actual like the Steve Rogers Captain America funeral.
The
Eh,
old guy from
yeah,
Endgame.
yes. I was like, don't do it. Don't do that. Not in the first episode,
Well,
please. No.
well, there was rumors that the title of the episode was going to be "Rest in Peace, Cap," which is why the title of this episode is "R.I.P. Cap," because
Hmm.
we all thought, if you had been listening to speculators, that there was going to be a death of Captain America, but it turns out not true.
Hmm.
Luckily for you.
Yes. Kind of not true. They do mention that Captain America, Steve Rogers, had passed, but I think, or at least I'm holding to this one, that
Mhm,
um, when Captain America went back into the past and he stayed there, the story
mhm,
is, and also in not Homecoming, Far From Home, they allude to
mhm,
this as well, that they just say that he didn't make it through the end game battle, basically.
mhm.
Not that
Yeah,
he made it and went back. So people think he
right.
didn't make it like Tony Stark. So I think that's what
Mhm.
they're talking about.
Well, do you remember when Sam was talking to, I don't remember his name, but the guy that's his friend in the military?
Hmm.
The guy said, like, oh, there's conspiracy theories that, like, Steve Rogers is on, like, a base on the moon doing some secret mission. And
Yeah.
Sam's like, yeah, don't believe that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
It's a little bit more outlandish to think what actually happened because he went traveled back in time and was with Peggy Carter for 70 years, and then he's now old cap. That's
I think,
even more outlandish to think like that happened.
yeah,
But
I didn't think about it like that. It's a good point.
yeah, but it's still funny to think that there's still conspiracy theories out there. That's one thing I want to talk a little bit about in this episode is that there's a lot more things going on that are grounded in reality. Conspiracy theories about Captain America's disappearance is definitely one aspect.
Hmm.
But when we get into the storylines of Sam and Bucky, we see a lot more of the real world coming through. We've kind of not seen what the world in the Marvel universe has been like since Endgame because we saw Far From Home, but we didn't really see it as like a broken world. We've
Yeah.
seen it as like from the perspective of a high school trip.
Hmm.
We didn't see that in WandaVision either. We saw that like, people were rejoicing that the world is kind of getting back to normal. And
Yeah.
we've heard that people like Hayward are saying that like the world was not a good place to be in. It was hard to keep the lights on during the 5 years that the blip happened.
Yeah.
But now we see that the world is still broken, even with all these people still here.
Mm.
And that's one aspect that I kind of liked about this episode is that it's not like all status quo. It's kind of gone to a place where it's like, yeah, all these people are back, but there are still things that need to be fixed.
Yeah. I think it showed a lot more humanity and stuff.
Mhm,
Like just the family troubles that
mhm,
Sam is having, the uh, post traumatic stress that Bucky's having, Sam's home problems with his sister and their family boat and all that stuff. And you see that
yeah.
he actually has like a family, which
Hmm.
you never have a hint of in any of the other movies. Then you see
Right.
Bucky, who is really having trouble with like post traumatic stress, which makes
Hmm.
sense because he never really had time to deal with it or anything. And it stinks
Hmm.
that he doesn't have his friend Steve to help him through it, which is
Right.
unfortunate. But now you really get to see like him deal with that, and you get to see Sam like try and keep his uh, family uh, relics, I guess, together and
Hmm.
keep their. I think he says their legacy, their family
Yeah.
legacy, alive.
Hmm.
So you get to see like some at home struggles with them that you really
Yeah.
never get to see. I agree in Marvel movies. It's always just
Hmm.
you bring the people together and then they fight a common person, or
Right.
everything in the movies just about the common goal at the end. But the fact that like we get in
Mhm.
this case, 6 episodes, um,
Yeah,
we get a little bit more time to elaborate on the person and not just the mission, which I think is interesting.
right.
Yeah.
So I want to kind of dive into these two dynamics of their personal lives
Mhm,
because Sam's was interesting to me because he's an Avenger. He's working for the Air Force. He's very famous.
mhm.
And the scene with them at the bank I thought was really interesting
Yeah.
because he's trying to help get a loan for his sister so that way they can keep the family business afloat so that way she's not going to be poor having to be in debt, and he's trying to help her. And what does immediately the bank teller do?
Nothing. He can't help.
Well, he first finds out that uh he's an Avenger, and he obsesses that Sam is an Avenger, and he's taking selfies with him, and he's really obsessing. And when Sam's trying to direct him back to the loan, trying to get him the loan, he's like, "Well, how do you get paid for being an Avenger?" You know, he's trying to circle back to being an Avenger. You know,
Yeah.
and I think like Sam trying to use his status as a government contractor as a superhero
Mhm.
to kind of help his sister, but it kind of backfired on him a little bit, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so as well. Mostly because it's true. How do you pay a superhero?
Right. And I think also, like, I know Anthony Mackie definitely talked about in interviews that one dynamic that Sam has to deal with is that how can he take up the mantle of Captain America and be a symbol for the United States if the United States doesn't stand up for him and for all Black people in the country? And that was evidenced because in this scene, his sister said to like the guy who was trying to give the loan, who's trying to get the loan for them. She was like, "This happens every time with us, with our kind of people." And the teller's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! Like I'm on your side." And it's like, this is the first time we're seeing like actual systemic racism be a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like we never
Mm.
got to see this before,
No.
you know, because we always saw this as being like, you know, kind of almost this quasi perfect world where,
Mhm.
you know, everybody's kind of buddy buddy. But this is the first time we're kind of seeing that, you know, they're in the deep south. Systemic racism is still a thing, even after the blip, even after the disaster that has happened
Yeah.
on the earth, which has shown that like the real world of even ours, of our the audience, still is in part to the Marvel universe. And I love that because it's part of the comics as well.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, they have a lot of they touch a lot on like social issues in the comics. You know, the X-Men were representative of like the civil rights movement, and you know, they talked a lot about like different aspects of the Cold War, and you know, Russia's fight against the United States and different aspects of that through the use of superheroes. And I
Interesting.
thought that was really interesting to see that this was also starting to bleed into a now Marvel series. So
Mhm.
I really like that they're now incorporating these things about the real world in this show, and it prompts a little bit of discussion for us as well, you know?
Yeah, I agree with that. Um, I didn't realize he said that in an interview or something. I'm assuming.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, I agree. When we were
Hmm.
talking about did Steve make the right choice in giving it to Falcon? We neither of us mentioned a race or anything. We just talked
Right.
about moral values and stuff. Because I
Hmm.
didn't want to bring it in because A, it's a touchy subject,
Hmm.
but B, none of that decision I think should be on race.
Right.
But I would choose Falcon to get the shield whether or not him and Bucky were of the same
Right.
race or not.
Same or
He
different. Yeah.
Yeah, he deserves it. And I think everyone everyone I think I said this in the last one. Everyone works with what they got. Everyone is a person who deserves to be treated either the way they want to be treated or the way I want to be treated.
Right.
So they either get the treatment they want in the sense that um, it's like the golden rule and the platinum rule.
Hmm.
Everyone knows the golden rule, which is treat people the way you want to be treated. And I
Hmm.
think everyone, I don't really need to explain that one. everyone, I think, gets the idea of that rule. The platinum rule, which I read in a book over there called How Humor Works by
Mhm.
Andrew Tarvell, I think, Tarville, something like
Yep.
that. Great book, but in it, he talks about the platinum rule, which is treat everyone the way they want to be treated.
Mhm.
And he likes it better than the golden rule. And my, like me personally, I think you have to try and blend the two. It's not
Mhm.
one or the other.
But I do like that there are aspects of the real world
Mhm,
that can prompt discussion with all different types of people
mhm,
through the show. You know,
yeah,
the same way that they did in the comics, and they're going to do it the same way in the shows and the movies, which is what I like.
mm,
Um, so now let's get into Bucky's story, because Bucky's is also very interesting, in
yeah,
which Bucky is dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder. He's dealing with nightmares, literally him remembering the people that he's killed. And in the scene that we are seeing, he literally kills whoever this person is. But then we see that there's this innocent guy who was at a conference, and he's just trying to get into his hotel room, and he was a witness to Bucky doing all these things, and Bucky just went up to him and shot him,
yeah,
just because he was a witness to all these things. And he's trying to branch himself out a little bit. He's trying to heal. He's trying to make amends with the wrongs that he has done. And Larry, his psychiatrist, is saying, what are the three rules for you trying to make amends?
mm,
First rule is you can't do anything illegal.
mm,
Second rule is you can't hurt anybody, which, as we see in the scene, he does hurt somebody when he's dealing with like the senator.
mm.
Um,
And he does do illegal stuff by
yes.
hijacking the car.
Yes. And the third thing is that he has to say the phrase. I forget the entire phrase, like, but I'm just gonna paraphrase. My name is James Buchanan Barnes. I am no longer the Winter Soldier, and I am trying to make amends for what I have done. And that's it. And then he just leaves.
With a smile.
Yeah. But he is attempting to heal and trying to work out, the things that he has done in the past. He has a list of people that he's trying to cross off to make sure those who got power from him for what he did, and also those who were adversely affected by him, will be remedied in some way for him.
Mhm,
And what I found interesting is that the whole sequence with him and the old man, Nagasima,
mhm.
I had no idea that the guy was the father, the man who he killed in that conference.
Yeah,
I had no idea until the guy was saying, like, oh, my son used to love this type of sushi. And I was like, oh my God, this is the father.
yeah,
And like I thought he was actually going to say, like, hey, I'm gonna just be outright. I killed your son. It wasn't my fault. But he didn't. He just paid him back for lunch, and that was it.
yeah.
And
You
I
mean
think,
at the very end when he went back after the date?
yeah.
I thought so too. Um, you can really see the actor first of all. Great job.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
Excellent job.
because you can really see the hurt and the pain
Mhm.
that he's going through with all the guilt and everything that he has,
Mhm.
and it's sad. It's terrible.
Mhm. And you can see that he had a shrine to his son. So I don't know how long it was since Bucky killed him, but he still has a shrine for his son,
Yeah,
showing that he still hurts from the fact that his son was killed. And the police said, like, he was just at the wrong place at the wrong time, which is true. But like now Bucky is like torn with, like, can I say that it was actually me who killed him? Like, it's so hard to be like a guy you befriended, be like, hey, by the way, I'm the killer of your son. It's very hard to, express that. And I think
yeah,
Bucky kind of made the morally right decision to be like, I'm going to spare him even more pain by, like, because, you don't want to have your friend be like, I did something horrible to you in the past, because that's just wrecks you even more than the pain that you already had. So I
yeah,
feel like he did at least the morally right decision at the time to just not say anything, just pay him back, and that was the due that he paid for him.
Yeah, this one is a tough the moral question at least, whether or not he should if it's the morally right thing to tell him or to
Mhm,
not tell him. I'm torn between the two
mhm,
because yes, it would cause him more pain to know who did it, but at the same
mhm.
time, causes him a lot of pain to not know as well.
Yeah.
And it may cause him like pain in the moment to figure it out, but I think once like you get an answer, then it might help.
Mhm.
And it's hard because it wasn't Bucky.
Right.
Um, so it's just a hard one. I'm not sure
Yeah.
because like you want to be honest and you want to tell the truth, like
Mhm,
what happened, give them the answer. Because even in the episode, the lady, I'm sorry, I'm not sure what her name is, that
mhm.
that Bucky goes out on a date with,
Yeah.
says that she thinks the hardest part is just him not knowing. Um,
What happened?
yeah, and the knowing I think would help, but also hurt a lot.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, do you want to spare the momentary um, pain
Mhm,
and just prolong a less pain, or like give a lot of pain in the moment, but hopefully in the long run it would be better. And I think
right.
it's similar to just thinking about it now. Um, I just made the connection between how Steve Rogers actually handled it with Iron Man
Mhm.
and his parents.
Yeah.
So Steve kept it a secret, and
Mhm.
ultimately it kind of blew up in his face a little
Yeah.
bit. And he apologizes at the end for it. Like there's this whole really nice long note that he gives Tony at the end of Civil War.
Mhm,
And in it he talks about that he says that I think it's been a while since I saw that one specifically. But
mhm,
in it I think he says uh he was keeping it a secret and he wasn't telling him because he thought he was protecting Tony. And then he realized that he really wasn't protecting Tony, he was protecting himself.
mhm.
And I think it also might be something like that,
Yeah.
which is why I'm more towards I feel like he might he should say it and apologize, I guess. I mean,
Mhm.
it's not really something you can apologize for,
Yeah.
like ever really apologize for, but like I don't know,
There's a
work through it.
no-win scenario with this situation, You can't win either way. You'll try and feel good, but then someone else will feel probably more pain. And if you keep it held inside, both of you are gonna still experience pain. There's gonna be no real winning when it comes to this kind of situation.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Bucky has to deal with. There's psychiatrists is saying that he has no contacts, very few contacts in his phone. He is ignoring texts from Sam. He's not trying to branch himself out into society and try and be, not the Winter Soldier anymore. He luckily got pardoned, which is great. He's absolved of all the crimes that he did, and he's kind of starting a new life, but he doesn't really know where he fits in that life.
Mhm.
And I think throughout the series, you're gonna find out that he's gonna get his humanity back, and he's gonna be with Sam and kind of learn, how to deal with the pain that he has been through and that he has caused throughout the entire world. You know,
Yeah. He's gonna work through it.
yeah. And I think that's why these two interconnected stories will really mesh together really well to, as you said in the beginning, to fight on a common goal,
Mhm.
to fight whatever this terrorist organization is, which is called the Flag Smashers, which are these group of individuals who are trying to dismantle the borders of the world and
Yeah.
try and restore things back to when the blip happened. And again, it's more rooted in uh, reality now, where we're having people want to go back to the way things were with they had the power and other people didn't have the power. And that's what Sam said in the beginning of the episode. Like, for those who have more power, there are always going to be those who will have less power, you know? and that terrorist group is trying to reestablish that power back for them, for their own purposes. And we're going to
Mhm.
see what happens with like Baron Zemo. He hasn't appeared in this episode, but we're going to see how
Yeah.
he fits into all this, because we
Mhm.
thought that he was just going to be done. And I've been thinking about this. I was like, he doesn't really have much of a passion anymore. Like, he was passionate about trying to disband the Avengers because they were the ones who caused the death of his wife and child. But what is his goal now? What would be his goal to be part of this terrorist organization and try and disband, the world? What is his goal? And I think that's something that we really have to understand as we see, more of why this terrorist group is doing what they're doing.
Do you think the group and do you think they're connected? Him and the
The
group?
Flag Smashers and Zemo?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're definitely connected.
I'm
They're
not
definitely
too
connected somehow.
well, the only reason why I'm not sure is in it, the guy who jumps out of the building is obviously, or I'm not gonna say it seems to be, he is enhanced in some way.
Hmm.
Kind of
Yeah,
like Bucky, kind of like Captain America. And
right,
in Civil War, specifically, it is made very clear that he does not want that.
right.
He does not want a Bucky or Captain America-esque
Hmm.
person. So, I would, at least for me, stands to reason why uh, I feel like they wouldn't be connected because that person who jumps out seems to be enhanced, which seems to be
Hmm.
something that goes against, at least previously, unless something else happened that we'll
Hmm.
find out. Which makes me think that there's gonna be like two plot lines or like two main groups. Maybe at the end team up, but I feel like as of now, they're not together.
Yeah.
That's just me.
So that fits well into the final part of this whole discussion on the Falcon and Winter Soldier, which is, what about this guy, John Walker? At the end of the episode, we have a new Captain America that was created by the Department of Defense that I know Billy does not like whatsoever.
No, I actually hurt my neck there.
What is his goal in this? Like, we know that if the government intervenes and tries to make something superhero-esque like War Machine or the Iron Patriot, it has backfired on them.
Yeah.
So is this guy going to have the same moral compass as Steve Rogers, where he's going to, be a part of the United States, but he has his own morals that he wants to follow, so he's going to rebel if he really needs to, if he feels like his morals go against whatever the morals of the United States or whoever it is are trying to impose on him.
Yeah. I mean, that's also a tough. Um, the question is an excellent question, but I also
Hmm.
think um, it's the best way to ask the question. But
Hmm.
Steve Rogers, Captain America, did rebel against the government when
Hmm.
he thought morally right.
Yeah.
So nothing wrong with necessarily wanting to rebel as long as it's
Hmm.
for ethical reasons, like for the good of
Right.
all, kind of thing. Not, you know what I'm trying to get at.
Hmm.
I don't really know the comic books too much. I do know this happens in the comic books. That someone else after Steve Rogers, um, not I think at least I heard it described. I'm not sure if you described it to me or I saw it,
Hmm.
somewhere, but like stole the name of it. In this case, he was given it. Um,
Hmm.
but I'm not quite sure. I think it's gonna be kind of wants to do the right thing, but also
Hmm.
has a little bit of ego.
Yeah.
Like, you want like at the end of the day, I feel like we're gonna find out he wants to do good for everyone.
Hmm.
But I think also he has like a little bit of an ego, which is
Hmm.
what like taking up the mantle. Like Falcon wants to do good.
Hmm.
I think no one can deny that he is a hero and he's done good and he wants to
Yep.
do good, wants to save people. Very moral, very very good character, kind of like Steve
Hmm.
Rogers.
Right.
But he doesn't have the ego, which is why he did not take on the mantle. I think, was okay letting it be its own symbol and
Yeah.
then being himself.
Hmm.
Didn't need to. take on that role.
Right.
Um, so I think just coming out of nowhere, taking it does seem to be kind of an ego stance because you can save the
Yeah.
world without that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
Falcon decided to do. So I
Hmm.
think there'll be a little bit of ego, but also I think at the end of the day, does just want to do good.
Hmm.
And I think Falcon will not like this. I think at the end we could tell he did not like it,
No.
the decision. Um, I don't think he's gonna really have a say until probably later, where he's
Hmm.
gonna have to prove himself, and then he might get the mantle. We'll see. Much.
Yeah, I
What do you
agree.
think?
So, in the comics, John Walker first appears in Captain America 323. He first becomes like the super patriot before he takes on the mantle of Captain America,
Mhm,
and he becomes the U.S. agent as well. So he's known by several names in the Marvel comics, and he
mhm,
does take up the mantle of Captain America. But the producers and I think the director of this show have said that yes, there is the John Walker of the comics, but we're kind of going to go in a different direction with him. There's going to be a difference with him in terms of how his character is going to develop in this story, because obviously it's going to be different. You know, he's going to have different motivations, and they're going to have different intentions for how they're going to use him. You know,
mhm.
all right. It seems like in the trailers he's going to be used more as a symbol, not as much as a soldier. But
Yeah.
we don't know if that's actually going to be anything in the show itself. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah.
So when I saw what he looks like, first of all, baby face galore. I mean, he does not look intimidating whatsoever. You know, he looks
No.
like a child trying to play Captain America.
Mhm.
You know,
Have you seen his actor face or just in the show?
I've seen his actor face. His actor face has like a beard now, but like it just looks weird because it looks like I'm more used to Steve Rogers being Chris Evans, and I'm not used to this guy being Captain America. So it's kind of weird for me to see it, you know.
Yeah. Much,
Um,
much, much more broad jawed than Chris Evans.
right. But I also thought like it was interesting how the U.S. government literally did a 180 in a few days. Like they went up to Sam and was like, "Thank you for giving us this huge symbol of America and freedom of the Captain America shield. Now we're going to display it." And then 2 days later, they're gonna be like, "We need the symbol for freedom, and the world is broken right now, so we're gonna give you a new Captain America." Like, obviously, this was planned. This was
Yeah.
planned that they wanted to have another Captain America, the
Mhm.
one that they control, not the one that was going to be independent of all the things that the United States wanted.
Yeah.
And I think that's where John Walker comes in. He's going to have this big mantle that he's going to take up and be the symbol of the United States and of power and might. And I kind of question if he's going to be Captain America in the way that we think of him, you know,
Do you mean as in like a soldier or a symbol?
both.
Okay. Yeah. I do wonder though
Mm.
how Steve Rogers is gonna think about this.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be at all present in this series.
It doesn't. I'm sad to say I don't think so either.
No.
But I do wonder because he probably watches the news. I do wonder
Do
what
you
he's
think he has the
thinking.
same expression as Sam does?
I'm
He's
not
like, "Oh
sure.
no.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh God. Why did you do that?"
Yeah, because he can't. He literally can do nothing about it
Right. He
except
can't
to
be
go
like,
talk to
"Hey guys,
Falcon.
I'm back." And it's like, "Why are you so old?" It's like, "Oh, I time travel back and now I'm back here in the
Yeah,
present."
the general people cannot know that was possible.
Right.
Yeah, when you go on the moon, you age quickly. um, yeah,
But hey, we're gonna see that this is going to be a symbol for the United States. The people are going to love it, but there's obviously gonna be a deeper story to this. Obviously, somehow, some way, Sam's gonna get the shield back, and he will probably take up the mantle of Captain America. But we
mhm,
need to see how the progression of not only this terrorist group, the John Walker character, but also the two stories that Sam and Bucky are having to deal with. We're gonna see
yeah,
all these converge and kind of filter through, and have this huge conflict to kind of fix things that were broken.
Yeah.
Maybe the world is broken and they're going to fix a little part of it so that way it will not be as damaged as it was beforehand in the beginning, because that's a real big emphasis in this story, is
Yeah.
that the world is broken, people are suffering even with all these people back, and it's a very hard time,
Mhm.
and that's why they need the symbol of Captain America, because it provides them with a little bit of hope.
Mhm. Yeah. Can I ask, so in Far From Home, how
Hmm.
far after Endgame does that take place? So
So
Endgame happens, and
that's
then
like roughly around like 7 months.
7 months. Okay, so
Yeah.
this happens just before
Hmm.
that.
Right.
Okay.
It's weird for the timelines.
A little bit.
It's kind of weird to be like WandaVision was 3 weeks after, and then we have Far From Home, which was 7 months after, and then we have Falcon Winter
This.
Soldier, which is 6 months after. So it's
Mhm.
like we're trying to piece together things that are like taking place in different times and different eras, and we're going to see more movies and TV shows that are going to show like this is happening here, this is happening here, this is happening here, so we can kind of have a fit timeline, because like obviously with the pandemic it was screwed over with like having everything be jumbled around, but
Yeah.
now we're trying to also figure out the timeline of like what's the end result going to be, where are we headed towards.
Yeah. I agree. I was just thinking about it, not necessarily keep them in order, because I knew
Hmm.
WandaVision was first. I knew Falcon is. I wasn't sure Falcon or Spider Man was next. I knew they were close. I heard seven
Hmm.
months, but I couldn't remember exactly
Yeah.
when. But I was thinking nothing about Captain America is mentioned in Far From Home, and we
Right.
could just say that's because, well, they didn't plan the TV show. So obviously they can't make a reference if they didn't finish writing the show.
Hmm.
Marvel's very good about these little details everywhere.
Right.
Um, so I wasn't sure what we could make from the fact that, because in Far From Home, that's where we find out that everyone just assumes that Steve Rogers didn't make it,
Hmm.
um, and stuff like that. So I wasn't sure if there's anything we could assume
Well,
or
I can definitely
reference.
tell you that like Kevin Feige has said that he and the Marvel team at Disney plan 5 to 10 years in advance. So they have already planned out the next 5 to 10 years for this new phase, this new saga of the
So
Marvel Universe.
crazy.
So that's my refutation on you saying that like, oh, maybe they didn't write about it. They knew about Falcon and the Winter Soldier
Yeah.
during this time. They knew about WandaVision. I
Hmm.
mean, in Far From Home, they literally referenced witches. Like one of the teachers was like looking up witches because they thought like all the things that were happening with Mysterio and everything was being caused by witches. So they know that this stuff exists,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
But we're obviously as an audience not trying to see these things happen because they're going to give away spoilers and give away details to things that have not come out yet.
Hmm. Yeah. So do you have anything left for the episode? 'Cause I have two interesting questions that I want to ask.
No, I'm pretty good on the episode. I got all of my takes out.
Okay. Um, so one of them is a WandaVision, one of them is a Captain America question. Which do
Okay.
you want first?
I'll take the WandaVision one. I'll go
Oh,
easy.
okay. Um, it's not really a question. It's more of it's a statement that I'm gonna say, and then I want you to give your opinion on it.
Okay.
So at the very beginning of Marvel,
Mm.
at the very beginning with Iron Man 1, we're
Yeah.
gonna leave out the Incredible Hulk. Um,
Please.
so Iron Man without the or Marvel without that one Hulk movie.
Hmm.
But the whole point, like, I think throughout it, is they back everything through science.
Hmm.
Everything's back through science.
Hmm.
Like the first Iron Man, um, well, I think Iron Man is easier one because you go through the all like the technology and stuff, so everything's like a little bit far fetched, but it's still
Hmm.
like plausible. And then you get to Thor after Iron Man 2, and
Hmm.
they still try to explain it with physics, like, oh, Einstein Rosen bridge and this stuff. So they throw
Hmm.
in science jargon in there to make it seem
Hmm.
plausible.
Yeah.
Um, and they keep kind of going from there. Nothing really new kind of happens. and then we get to like Doctor Strange, and I think, but by then, like after Guardians of the Galaxy and everything, everyone's like, okay, we can accept this
Mhm.
because it's just like a little bit more far fetched in the sense like less scientific. Because even
Mhm.
then they're like it's outside of your awareness kind of thing. Like they still kind of
Right.
justify it
Mhm.
scientifically, kind not really scientifically, but like in, they justify it in a way.
Mhm.
Then we get to like WandaVision. Now it's just witches and like pure magic and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
I feel like no one bats an eyelash like, oh, this isn't like really plausible, or oh, this is like really far fetched, or this couldn't be real. Because I
Mhm.
remember at the beginning of Marvel thinking, I really like Marvel because everything in it seems plausible. Like
Yeah.
DC, you have like Superman. DC, you have Green Lantern. You
Mhm.
got like all these characters who are kind of more on the outlandish side. But then
Yeah.
Marvel, you have like Iron Man, Captain America, Falcon,
Mhm.
Hawkeye, Black Widow, Thor, kind of. You get all these characters who are kind of like plausibly real in a
Yep.
sense. That's
Mhm.
backed up, could be backed up by science, and one day maybe a reality. But like we finally get to the point for like WandaVision where it's like it's just no science, just magic. No
Yeah.
trying to justify it at all. It's just
Right.
what it is, kind of thing. I
Mhm.
thought that was just interesting. Like it kind of seems like they slowly built up the ramp of implausibility until like we're at like the peak, and now we're just accepting it. I thought that was interesting. Nothing
So
wrong with it. That was just
yeah.
my what I noticed.
So I definitely think that this new saga, this new phase of Marvel is going to be defined by a few things. By horror, we're going to see that with like Blade, Doctor Strange 2, different aspects like that. We're
Mhm,
going to have it be a part of magic and mysticism,
mhm.
and we're going to have it be influenced by the cosmic story. So
Yeah.
magic and mysticism is definitely going to be involved with like Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness, WandaVision, all these characters that are kind of becoming more magical. Yes, we can kind of back it up by science, but it's going to be more like we're going to explain it with magic. And I think that also leads in the cosmic and the multiverse aspects where we're going to have more godlike beings. We're going to get introduced to all these gods like Galactus and Eternity and, you know, all these different beings that now we can define as what the Marvel Universe was back in the comics as well.
Mhm.
And the multiverse is going to be integrating that as well, creating this whole perceptive reality of what we're going to see the Marvel universe become. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
They're really
that's where I
building up.
think is going. That's where I think it's going to go, in a sense.
Mhm. I agree with that.
Yeah,
It makes sense to me. Do you think they'll bring in Adam at all? Because I think that's his name, right?
Adam Warlock,
Yes. Because they show him in Guardians of the
Guardians of the
Galaxy
Galaxy
2.
Volume 2. Yeah,
Yeah. Um, and I believe you are the one who told me that. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is he the character who's like the alien who's super strong and then gets super soldier serum as well?
I don't remember saying that,
No.
and I don't believe that's true because he's like a godlike being.
Okay. Was there a
So
character that gets it as well? The super soldier? No.
not that I can
Wonder who told
recall.
me that.
I don't think it was me who told you that.
Hmm. I'm not sure. Maybe it was Nando.
Maybe.
I'm not sure.
We're gonna see. Hopefully, we're gonna see like Adam Warlock come in at some point in the MCU. We're gonna see the Fantastic Four come in. That just brings the whole door of like Silver Surfer, Galactus. We're gonna have all these beings. We already had
Mhm,
the Infinity Gauntlet saga, where if you've read the comics, that's where all the Marvel Universe tries to take on Thanos in the Infinity Gauntlet.
mhm.
But now we have something more towards maybe Secret Wars, where we're gonna have the entire Marvel Universe try and battle this one being or maybe this like multiverse of beings. There's so many possibilities with
Yeah.
what Marvel's going to do.
So good. Because I feel like they're
Mm.
not planning on quitting anytime soon.
Oh no.
After this whole, I want to call it phase, but after this whole big ramp up,
Hmm.
they're gonna have something else.
It's just gonna go off.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
What's your Captain America question?
So this one I think would just be a good wrap up one maybe. Um,
Mhm.
as like a final thoughts, like what does the Shield legacy mean to you,
Shield legacy mean to me? The Shield legacy means to me,
or the Captain America legacy?
yeah, it means to me that no one can be the true Captain America but Captain America himself. And it's a representative of not the person anymore, it's the representative of the symbol and what Captain America represents. He is a leader, he is someone who fights for everybody, he is someone who will, you know, be the moral guidance for a team or people. And no one can embody that more than Steve Rogers, but I feel like someone can take that mantle and have a little bit of that aspect. And that's why I think Sam, being Captain America, will help. He will provide the hope that people need, the kind of drive and ambition, inspiration that I think every person needs in their lives. Not just the Avengers, but like everybody in the world, you know?
Yeah,
So that's how I feel about what's going to continue on. And I think that's where they're going to lead in with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And this is how they're going to progress it. We're going to see a final resolution to how we're going to see Captain America
mhm.
in the future in some way or another.
I agree. 100%. The one thing I would add to your the character list of descriptions is
Mhm.
will never give up.
True.
Um, and I think that might be something that this series inadvertently talks about in a sense.
Mhm.
The Falcon will just keep going, and
Mhm.
eventually he'll take the mantle. Like he'll keep trying to make things right, and eventually
Yeah.
realize he should take it
Mhm.
because he won't give up. Um, in the sense that like once Captain America knows what's right to do, he'll just keep doing it. He won't
Mhm.
stop. He has the catchphrase, "I can do this all day." So I mean,
True.
I think that might be something they touch upon in the show.
Mhm. Agreed.
I don't know.
All right. So now I want to talk a little bit about Justice League because yesterday I had the opportunity and the commitment to watch Zack Snyder's Justice League. Let me tell you, uh, it was a long movie to get through. It took
Four
me a
hours,
long
right?
time. So, yeah, it is a long movie, 4 hours and 10 minutes, I think is the runtime. I'm not entirely sure, don't quote me, but like I think that was the runtime for the movie.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So here's what's going to happen. So I'm going to provide a spoiler-free version of my opinion on the movie. So that way, anybody who is wanting to not, hear about it, like Billy, because you haven't watched it yet.
I have not seen it.
No.
I will see it. I just haven't because I do not have HBO Max.
I was able to do it because one of my friends gave me the information
Mhm,
to get into their subscription, so I was able to do it.
mhm.
Um,
You should get me in contact with this friend of yours.
he probably watches the podcast, so he'll probably want to contact you.
I'll put my phone number in the description. No. Okay.
So I'm going to provide a spoiler-free review, and then I'm going to ask Billy to shut off his speakers at the time that I'm going to give the spoiler version. And for those of you who don't want to hear the spoiler version, I will allow you to have a little bit of time to get to the timestamp that I will put up onto this on the top here. So that way people can be able to get to that timestamp so we can talk about the next segment after you hear the spoiler-free review of Justice League.
Mhm.
Sound good?
Perfect.
And I'll give you the thumbs up when that does happen when I'm finished with it. So that way Billy is not going to be like doing his cards because he's going to be like doing your deck of cards the entire time that I'm going to do the
Yep.
spoiler version.
I am prepared. I'm also going to mute myself so no one has to listen to me do all this stuff. Oh, as I almost just drop everything. Okay.
All right.
In
So you're
here.
ready for the
Non-spoiler.
spoiler-free
I'm excited.
version?
I'm excited because I have seen the original version of this movie,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't not like it. Let me use proper
You
English.
you
Um,
liked it.
I liked it, but also there's aspects of it that I wasn't fond of.
Yes.
And we both agree on this.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm going to use a word that my friend Alir uh, taught me, or a phrase, the Deus Machina, which
Yes.
Superman was.
Yes.
He
Which
just,
I
he just,
told you as well.
yes, you did as well. Alir beat you, I think, by like a month or two, which is why I
Hmm.
attribute it to him.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that.
Give credit where
um,
credit is due.
yes. So you both did it.
Yeah,
You took Latin in high school, right?
I did.
Yes.
So,
You are reputable.
hmm
Um,
so
but yeah, continue. I disrupted.
it's okay. Um, so spoiler-free version. Movie was long. It literally took me. It's a 4 hour long movie. It took me like 5.5 hours to get through it because like I had other stuff to do. Like I had to make dinner and I had to do this, had to do that. So it took me a long time. Thankfully, I did not have to go to a movie theater and sit in a movie theater for 4 hours. Because if you thought Avengers Endgame was long, this movie is long. It is divided up into 6 parts plus an epilogue, and which I find very unnecessary. Just give me the movie. You don't have to describe it because the descriptions of the scenes don't really matter in any sense. Go
I need
ahead.
to ask you a question. What do you
Go
mean by
ahead.
6 parts and an epilogue?
So, in the movie is divided up into 6 parts, of which Zack Snyder like designated as like this is one part, this is the second part, this is the third part, fourth part, etc., etc. And then there's an epilogue after they have the final battle at the end, and there's like the end scenes and the end credit scenes and stuff like that.
Do they tell you like
So they'll
part
say like
one, part
part
two?
one, and they'll have like a title for that part, but
So
it will
it's
be
like a
completely
bunch of
irrelevant to like the entire movie. It will just be like referencing a quote or like something somebody says or something. It's very arbitrary. It's very unnecessary, in my opinion.
so like at have you seen the show Avatar: The Last Airbender?
Yes.
So at the beginning of those episodes, after the credits,
Hmm.
they put the name of the episode. Most
Yep.
kids' TV shows do this. They put the name of the episode on like the opening scene of it.
Hmm.
Is it kind of like just watching a bunch of episodes in a row, where they just put them all into one thing, where it was one thing with an episode name, then the next thing, an episode name, next thing,
Hmm.
an episode name? Is it like that?
Not really, because there's no real conclusion to each episode. It just literally is like if you were to take away the parts where they just say part one, part two, it would have no bearing on the story whatsoever. It's just going to continue flowing. They just wanted to do this. And this is one thing that I did not like about this movie is that Billy showed me it before I even watched the movie, but like the beginning part has things saying that it's going to be in a 4:3 format, where usually it's a 16:9 format, which is the widescreen format. 4:3 is a square almost.
Yeah.
So it's smaller on the screen, so you only have very limited visual space. And in that quote, it's saying like it's going to be in a 4:3 ratio to preserve Zack Snyder's vision. I'm just like, he thinks of himself as a visionary, and I'm already annoyed. Because one, now it's going to be in a very small format, and two, he thinks of himself so highly that this is going to be some grand movie, that I have to sit through for 4 hours.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would mostly just be upset because it's such a waste of like the whole screen.
Right.
Like you have like the capability of using all this area,
Full
and then
screen, and yet you're just going to eliminate it into this one little box.
yeah, it's kind of like how we're limited, but like we're not like multi-million-dollar
Like,
movie
this is
corporation
because of the formatting of Zoom. This is not because of the formatting of
of
what
us.
we choose to do. This is just how we are confined. I'm confined in this box because of how Zoom provides the box for me.
Yeah, and we're not like multi-million-dollar movie companies who can like actually. I don't know. I thought that was
Right.
weird. I saw it. The first thing I had to do was be like, so I saw it, and I'm like, Rob is not gonna like this. I gotta
Nope.
send it to him.
And I didn't. For
Um,
4 hours, I just did not care for it.
mhm.
But, um, certain, so in the actual movie itself, it's an improvement on the original. There's a lot more story being discussed. There's a lot more character development being discussed, because that was one of the things that I did not like about Justice League, is that there was very minimal character development. We introduce the characters, they come in and they do their thing, and that's it. We have a little bit more character development. We have a little bit more understanding of like the motivations of each character, what they want, what they feel, what they believe, and how they ultimately come together as one team. So that was a little bit better for me, as a story aspect. Again, long as hell, they drag out certain scenes that I just absolutely did not need to have. Plot points which are just off. Didn't need. It was weird. There are some plot points, without going to spoilers, that are just like, why did you put that there? That's kind of dumb to put that as part of the plot. There are certain scenes that were being emulated from Marvel directly, which is like, okay, don't need that either. You'll understand. You'll
I want to
understand
know that
when
one
you
now.
see it. You want to see? Do you want me to tell you?
You can't tell it in this part because this part's the non-spoiler part.
You're
But
right.
so at the end of your spoiler part, or just tell me after we finish filming, I guess.
Yeah, I'll probably just tell you afterwards, so that way people don't get like spoiled in. But like, yeah, certain
Spoiled
scenes
it.
that were just like,
Spoiled it. Sorry.
I just remember this from the Marvel universe, and it's like, they just like plucked it out of there and used it. There are differences. I think Zack Snyder made an executive decision to do this, or this. Like, you've seen the black suit Superman, right?
I haven't actually.
You didn't watch the trailer, did you? You didn't do
I
my
did.
homework. F. Billy gets an F because he didn't do my homework.
I'm a busy person.
It's not really a big spoiler anyway. Like, it's a black suit. Who cares?
Yeah.
There's no
Wait, no, I did
reason.
see it. I saw it on TV.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
There's no reason why he has the black suit. He just
It's a
chose it.
whole. Is it the suit black the whole time?
Yes. The whole time. For no reason. Just, it's black. It makes no sense, but whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
The final battle was an improvement on the one that was original. I can tell you that much.
That's
Very
good.
interesting how they ended it. I really thought it was better, in my opinion. End credit scenes, I'll just say one word: confusing. That's it.
Good confusing or bad confusing?
Bad confusing.
Okay.
It
Like,
really it made me feel like, this scene happened, this scene happened, this scene happened. Like, I don't understand why this is all connected. It was very jumbled around. It was odd.
Okay.
It was odd for me.
Okay.
So that is my spoiler-free version of the Justice League movie. Now, Billy, I know it's going to be hard, but you're going to be quiet and you're not going to be able to hear me for the next few minutes.
I have to ask one question before I go on mute. On a
Okay.
scale of 1 to 10, how is the old version? And on a scale of 1 to 10, how is the new version?
Old version, 4 out of 10. New version, 7 out of 10.
Good improvement.
Yes.
A statistically significant improvement.
Yes, definitely. Even with the long run time, I will still give it a 7 out of 10. There are still flaws in this movie that I just don't like, but it was an improvement.
Is it 7 out of 10 for a movie's sake, or 7 out of 10 for a DC movie? Not to be like
For a
bashing
movie's
DC
sake.
movies.
I'm not going to be comparing it to all the other DC movies. I'm just going to be comparing it to its own self and to its predecessor. That's it.
Okay. Fair judgment. Okay. Now I will put myself on mute.
Nice.
And I will meet you. Okay. Bye, people. Well, I'm not going anywhere. But
there are 3 takeaways with this movie. Basically, the end battle was very interesting because we all saw that just like Barry Allen saved the people and everything, and he didn't really contribute much because we just saw Cyborg and Superman separate the mother boxes, and that was it. But then we see a different aspect of the Justice League, where we see that Barry Allen actually went back in time, going around and hitting Cyborg, because in this scene we see that Darkseid actually does come into nice. We see that Darkseid does come into the planet Earth and does actually take it over, but we see that Barry Allen is able to move faster than the speed of light, so he's able to come into the future and come back into the past. So three things that I'm going to talk about with the end credit scenes that are going to be very interesting. Number one, the end credit scene we see with Deathstroke. I knew that was going to happen. I completely forgot about it, but I remember that it was going to be in the movie. But then we saw the end credit scene with Deathstroke and Batman allied in this alternate reality of post-apocalyptic Gotham or Metropolis where Superman is evil. And I was very confused about seeing this because I was like, is this an alternate future? Is this something that's going to happen? Is this something going to lead into like another movie? Because I thought Darkseid was going to be the one that was going to be the main villain in the next movie. But we see that it's this alternate reality, and we have this very long speech with the Joker about like how Bruce has lost his family, has lost his mother, his father. You see that he lost also Robin, who was killed in Batman vs Superman, which is also I forgot about too. We see that he is trying to get Bruce to be on the dark side a little bit. You know, he's trying to, you know, get Bruce to get out of his Batman shell and try and, you know, be the mean person that he knows he has inside. Because I think the Joker understands that Batman is holding all this anger, all this pent up rage. And I think it was a very odd sequence to see this, especially after the Deathstroke scene where we saw the end and we see that Deathstroke is part of this scene, was very confusing for me. Then we get to see that it was actually a dream. Bruce Wayne just dreamed it, and that was it. Um, it was super confusing for me because I didn't understand why Bruce was having another nightmare. It's called the nightmare sequence. I didn't understand that. But that leads me to my third point, which is involving the Martian Manhunter. I did not expect the Martian Manhunter. I completely skipped over any kind of leaks that Zack Snyder gave that the Martian Manhunter was going to be a part of the Justice League. I had no idea. And when I saw him transform as Martha Kent into the Martian Manhunter, into the general that we saw in Man of Steel, I geeked out a little bit. And it was really interesting. Um, and we saw the Martian Manhunter at the end credits talking to Bruce, and I thought he was going to say something along the lines of, I just gave you a premonition of the future and I want to be able to help prevent that future from happening. Because if you know, the Martian Manhunter is one of the most powerful beings in the DC universe. And I thought that he was actually here to save the world from being in that apocalyptic future. Because we also saw that Barry Allen went back in time to tell Bruce that Lois Lane is the key. So I thought maybe these things were connected, but it wasn't. It was just Martian Manhunter saying the impending doom of Darkseid was going to be coming. He wanted to be able to be a part of it. So it was interesting to see that the Martian Manhunter was a part of this movie. I didn't really expect it, but I did enjoy it. As a comic book fan, as a fan of DC, I did not expect it, and I really, really enjoyed that the Martian Manhunter was going to be in this movie.
Hello, Robert from the future here because Robert from the past completely forgot about one aspect of the Justice League movie that he wanted to talk about. He wanted to talk about the Green Lantern Corps. So, in the movie, we see one particular scene where there's this big battle with all the gods and the men and the Atlanteans and the Amazons going up against Darkseid's army. And one of the people that's there is Yalan Gur, which is one of the guardians of Oa, who are the Green Lantern Corps, basically the Universal Police. Um, and we see that he's engaged in the battle for a few scenes, but then he gets killed by Darkseid, and the Power Ring leaps off his finger, and before Darkseid can grab it, just goes away. And that's the only time we actually see anything from the Green Lantern Corps. And what I was very disappointed about with this movie is that I thought that there was going to be more involved with the Green Lantern Corps. Maybe there's going to be an end credit scene, or maybe there's going to be a scene where we're going to see like Hal Jordan or Guy Gardner or John Stewart. I was kind of anticipating and hoping for this, and it just didn't happen. And I was kind of bummed out that we didn't get to see this. And I know that Warner Brothers and Zack Snyder were going to try and make plans to have Green Lantern in there, but it just never worked out. And I'm very disappointed because like I thought that would have been a really great thing. I'm not gonna take away anything from the Martian Manhunter being in the movie, but I would have liked to see Hal Jordan in there. I wanted to see the Green Lantern, or at least something relating to the Green Lantern, that we could kind of get something in the future. So now we can go back into the past, which is actually your present.
So, how did you feel about that spoilerific Justice League take that I had?
The spoiler version or the non-spoiler version?
The spoiler version.
Did
you enjoy it?
It was incredible.
Yeah.
Like,
and just imagine when you come back to seeing this and be like, oh, that's what he was talking about during that whole time when you actually see the Justice League movie.
Yeah, so when I see it, or am I gonna do my own like take on it?
You're gonna have your take. You're gonna have your time to give your take on it. And we can have a discussion about it. Completely spoilerific because want to make sure that everybody is going to have an aspect on it. This is a segment where me and Billy, we're going to talk about our individual interests that kind of relate to the nerd culture that we have been a part of. So I'm going to go first because Billy has that special surprise that you want to wait until the end for. It's going to be very fun.
It's going to be so
So I'm going to So I'm a comic book collector. I collect older comic books, and I'm very knowledgeable in the comic book lore of everything. And every single week, I go to the comic book store and I get some comic books. So I thought it'd be very nice, and I hope all of you enjoy it. I will be able to see if you enjoy it or not. But I'm going to show you some of the comic books that I have gotten over the past few weeks. So let's start off with, not that one. Gotta do that one last. Let's start off with Hawkman #1. This is a nice Silver Age book. This book is going to be hot because the Black Adam movie from DC, starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, we have confirmation that there's going to be Hawkman in the movie, and this book is going to go up on fire when that official announcement is going to be made of whoever the actor is going to be. So this book is going to be climbing. I mean, the #1 issue, also very nice, and it's also a pretty nice cover.
Nice. I've never heard of him.
Yeah, Hawkman. Hawkman, I believe, is not one of the original Justice League of America members, but he is a definite important character. He's like a C-list character, but he's important. Like, he's one of the important faces of DC.
Interesting. Actually, I'm gonna retract that last statement. I heard of him a few times, but I've never like seen him on screen.
In that way. Yeah.
Okay.
So next up, we have Amazing Spider-Man #294. This is part 5 of the Kraven's Last Hunt. This is a very famous Amazing Spider-Man story arc where we have Kraven hunting down Spider-Man. And in this issue, spoiler alert, Kraven dies, but I'm going to call dies in quotation marks because he actually doesn't die. Nobody in comics actually dies. They always will come back somehow, some way. It's not like the movies where they're going to be dead. This is going to be like dead for now. One of the more famous issues of Spider-Man where he kills Kraven.
Very, very cool.
And the last comic book I'm going to show you is Web of Spider-Man #32. This is part 4 of the Kraven's Last Hunt saga. This is a classic cover by Zack. I just love this cover. It is a beautiful black suited Spider-Man cover with him crawling out of his grave because obviously Kraven assumed that Spider-Man died and he got put into his grave, but now he's crawling out. And I just love the way that the lines of the rain get into the photo, not the photo, get into the artwork.
That is a beautiful cover.
It's really nice. Newsstand as well. You can't really find these because the difference between this, which is the newsstand, and this, which is the direct, is
Put
that
down
this
this little
was
bit. Okay.
this one has like the Spider-Man logo here in the corner.
Yep.
Whereas this one has the barcode. Barcodes are called newsstands because they were sold on a newsstand. They were sold in stores on the newsstand, like on the rack. This one is the direct edition to sell to directly to like regular stores, and they wouldn't put them out as like a newsstand would.
Interesting.
And newsstands were harder to find in a higher grade, so that's why newsstands are also very important to have, because nobody took care of them because they were the ones that were read more often.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That is very cool.
Mm-hmm. And that's going to happen every week, people.
Oh yeah. I look forward to it.
All right, Billy, what's
Okay.
your little thing?
Okay. So I don't really have anything to share in the sense like I don't have anything special of mine to be like, look at what I got this week.
Mm.
But I have a question for the
Ooh,
viewers.
got questions.
Yeah. You can also answer as well, Rob. But mostly for the viewers.
Mm.
So so obviously I have seen every Marvel movie in order, and I've seen every Marvel movie except for
Deadpool 2, Logan. You haven't seen a lot of the X-Men films. They're
yeah.
like
So
the recent ones.
besides the X-Men ones, I've seen every Marvel movie after the first Avengers movie
Mm.
in theaters in the special fan event thing.
Mhm.
Like it used to be midnight premieres, and then they changed it, so now it's no longer midnight. It's just the day before.
Mhm.
And like they're the fan events, so you get like a coin or you get like a necklace or something.
Mhm.
So either way, big fan. Rob's a big fan. We know
Yep.
that. That's why we're here. My dad, on the other hand, has only seen Iron Man 1 and Iron Man 2. And not 100% sure he's seen the whole thing of Iron Man 2. He's seen 75% of Thor and about half of Captain America, first one. And the other day, I was going to rewatch Far From Home. And so he's seen the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man as well. I'll say that, even though they're not really connected as of yet. But anyway, so he wanted to watch it, and I said no. He was not allowed to
Yeah.
because Far From Home A is the most recent movie
Mhm.
that ties into basically every other movie. It's not like it's say Avengers 2, which still
Mhm.
I wouldn't be happy with if you skipped to that one. But Avengers
It's right
2
in
at
the
least,
middle.
yeah. So like Avengers 2 at least doesn't if you go back and you rewatch the movies before Avengers 2, then it
Mhm.
really doesn't like take away your satisfaction from Avengers 2. You can kind of
Mhm.
enjoy it without necessarily having seen all the other ones. Kind of. But Far From Home, directly after Endgame, and Endgame is like the thing that they spent a decade building to. So it's like,
Right.
no, you are not allowed to watch it until you watch the other 21 movies, depending on which ones
Yep.
you've seen, beforehand.
Mhm.
And then I was called a snob.
Oh
Don't be a
my
movie
gosh.
snob. No. You should put a thing that goes like snob alert or something like that. I don't know.
I'm trying to find that
Uh,
graphic.
but and my opinion is I am not a snob. If you're gonna want, I care so deeply about these movies that I
Mm.
want you to enjoy them, and you can't fully enjoy that movie without seeing all the other ones. If it was a
Right.
different movie, maybe Homecoming, the first Spider-Man, I'd be more okay with.
Mhm.
Doesn't really. He knows Iron Man. Iron Man's in the movie, so that's basically it. Doesn't really talk about much else. It
Mhm.
references the first Avengers movie. But for the most part, you could enjoy that movie without having seen any of the other ones. But Far
Right.
From Home, you can't. You have to really, truly enjoy the details in it and like
Mhm.
everything. You kind of have to see everything else. My opinion.
Yep.
So the question is, Was my opinion right, or was I a snob? Hit the like button if I was right. Take that out.
No, we're gonna keep that in.
Oh god.
So, what I'm thinking about this, and this is just my perception, is that it's kind of the same way with Black Panther. A lot of people have seen the Black Panther movie because it was so popular and it was such an influential movie in culture during that time.
Yeah.
They completely forget that it's entirely part of a cinematic universe that has other movies involved. So literally, like Civil War is tied in with Black Panther, and of course, that's like one of the only movies I think that's actually incorporated in this movie, except for Age of Ultron, where we see whatever
Yeah.
the guy's arm got chopped off, but
Yeah.
that's
But
not
even
really as
then.
important. Yeah, it's not really as important. And like the end credit scene, if you don't stay for the end credit scene, totally fine because you're not gonna really understand anyway. But like there are certain things that like you want to make sure that people understand like how did the sequence of events lead up to this movie. You don't want them to be like, I'm gonna watch this movie and then watch all the rest. And it's like, you got spoiled a little bit,
Yeah. I agree.
So I would say you are not a snob, even though I'm gonna have a snob alert up there. You are not a snob. You
Whew.
are perfectly fine in your reasoning, and I totally agree with you. If it was a movie like Black Panther, which didn't have much of significance to spoilers or anything, totally fine.
Yeah.
But if
Or
you're
like Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah. But if you're going to watch something like Avengers Infinity War, you're going to have to try and understand where all these connections are going. Like, why are these references coming here, here, and here?
Yeah. And also, it's like I'd have to explain so much of it. Like, I don't mind talking Marvel. That's not a
Right.
problem. It's just that
Too
me
little time
talking
for
about.
that.
Well, not only that, like I'd have to explain so much, and
Mhm.
also, it. I know I would not do it justice. Like I
Yeah.
would explain, like, oh, it's so emotional and Endgame. Like you have no idea. Like half the people left, and then they came back, and
Yeah.
like for 5 years
Mhm.
and stuff like that. Like me saying it like that.
Doesn't have as much impact as seeing it happen and unfolding in two movies,
Yeah,
waiting a year for
in
these two
between.
movies to
Yeah,
come out.
yeah. It's
Leave a
unfortunate.
discussion in the comments and see what you think about it. Is Billy an actual snob or is he right?
Mhm.
I feel like there's
Well,
gonna be
I
more
can.
snobs.
They're not mutually exclusive. So
Is he morally correct for telling his father off?
no, no, no.
No, respect your father.
Yeah, we didn't even end up watching the movie that night. I don't think. I think, um,
No point.
yeah, it was
All right, so now
a
we're
wrap
going
up.
to the final segment, which is called the final word, which are going to be our last words about anything that we have discussed today. Billy, any final thoughts?
Let's see. That there was not. I'm happy that theory was not right. First of all,
Yes, that's true. For
um,
now.
for
For
now,
now.
for now, um, I like the way they set up the show. I
Hmm.
think it's set up to be real, really human,
Hmm.
because the kind of stuff that they deal with is really you can really em- empathize with that kind of stuff. And you
Hmm.
definitely could empathize with how Wanda felt in the TV show and WandaVision and stuff. Like that one was a lot more um, out there in the sense. It was
Right.
less less relatable
Hmm.
in the sense. But like a lot of people unfortunately suffer with post traumatic stress, and a
Yeah.
lot of people unfortunately deal with money troubles
Hmm.
and um, being not being treated fairly and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So it's um, a lot more uh, relatable to I think a lot of people, and also you can really empathize with them because of that. But either way, Happy Captain America is okay. Steve Rogers Captain America is okay,
Yep.
and do not like this new person coming in. Falcon, Steve Rogers should be Captain America,
No one else.
and then Falcon should be Captain America. That's it.
I
That's
draw
it.
the line here, sir. This
That's it.
far, no farther.
Yep, exactly. Now, Rob, what's your final statements, or what's your final opinion?
My final word: Zack Snyder made it. He made a good movie. That's it. That's all I gotta say. He made a good movie. Not a great movie. Just made a good movie.
Well, that's good.
It's hard to say, but I'm putting it out there.
Well, because you didn't like the first one, so it's an improvement.
I didn't like Batman vs Superman, Man of Steel, or Justice League. So
I liked
my
Man
opinion.
versus. I liked Man of Steel. Batman versus Superman wasn't bad. Wasn't my favorite movie, but
It wasn't great.
yeah. I liked Wonder Woman.
He didn't
and-
make that.
I know. I'm just saying DC movies.
Ah, okay.
And I haven't seen Wonder Woman 2. I don't want to see that.
Mm.
Okay.
Well, that's our show, people. If you like, please leave a like. If you want to subscribe, we would love to see more subscribers and be able to have more people engage with us in our nerd culture because we love talking about this kind of stuff. And until next time. All right. In 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to the Nerdy Wordy, the show where we can tell you never to tug on Superman's cape. I am your host, Robert.
I am Billy. Oh, I'm a
And
co-host.
today, yes,
Sorry.
you're a co-host.
I ruined it.
You ruined it. Just kidding. You want to do that again?
Please. I was just caught off guard by your comment about pulling Superman. And I just pictured, like, okay, let's do it again. Okay.
Let's do it again. It was so good. Okay.
Oh my god. Okay. It's also really hot in my room. Okay. Okay, let's do this. Take 2.
That's,
Okay,
that's
I
gonna
got
go at the end. It's gonna be so good. It's not gonna go in the beginning because obviously they're gonna be expecting it, but
Mhm.
that's gonna go in the end. All right. Let's do this again.
Okay, let's do this. Stay focused, Billy. Stay focused. Okay.
Don't
laugh.
laugh as much.
I can laugh,
And
but
I'll
just
be
don't
like,
don't derail it.
Yes,
Okay.
because you kind of interrupted. I was like, I was thrown off. All right.
Okay.
Be a good actor. I can be a good actor. All right. Ready?
Mhm.
3, 2, 1.
And also, I don't really have anything written on here. I just wanted to seem
Neither.
like I was prepared.
Yeah,
all I have
like
is
I
look
was
at
gonna
the
be like, I
camera
have
and-
notes.
Yeah, I just want to. It just says look at the camera and smile. But I thought it would be funny if I brought out like, and I was like, okay, next point of
Look at
business.
my list.
Yeah, that would be funny.
Yeah.